Of course, we have ODM General Secretary, that is Dr. Agnes Zani. We have also with us Honorable Kipruto Rap Kirwa, and also we do have with us Honorable Richard Onyonka to give us also some insight of what we are talking about this morning, looking at the NASA and what is happening with the politics. Of course, they've been in Kilifi. We want to know, of course, why are they really biding their time? Is it a strategy from NASA to actually buy their time and not really announce their candidate? And why also the Jubilee administration is insisting, according to some other pundits, that they should stage Raila Odinga as the flag bearer? Let's hear from Dr. Zani. Good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning. Good to see you. Thank you.
Right. This particular meeting, of course, you didn't attend yesterday. It was for the principals. But why are you biding your time on coming out with a presidential flag bearer?
I think this is a process, first of all. We have to think about this as
a process. Is it a process or a strategy?
It's a process, could be a strategy as well. But I think Kenyans are looking at it from different perspectives. We have 4 leaders who all aptly can become the flag bearer. And this is an issue where we're looking at this as a team.
Yes.
You know, we're not looking at one leader and then they take one thing and the other leader takes the other. It's a team because of what they can bring together as a team. And this is what is critical. And very clearly, the process is still ongoing. And I think I like the way we're approaching it again from different facets. We're looking at it from various reports that we've received across a broad spectrum of principles that are very critical in making such a selection, versus the discussion among the principals, which I think is what is going on. But as you've just had the principals say, I think there's a lot of pressure from the people, and everybody is, you know, we want the person named. But I think it's important that all these principles and structures are put into place, and this is what we did and tried to do to a large extent as a committee, because there are so many considerations, because this is not just about coming together and taking power. It's about putting in place key manifestos, key ideas, key mottos, key driving principles that are going to guide the coalition. So I think this is what is going on. So I think we have been aptly informed. It's a question of really giving it time until we get to the end of this process.
But interestingly also, we saw from a headlining story on the Star over the weekend that we have also the core principal, Musalia Mudavadi, saying that, yes, if we choose Raila to run for this particular NASA flag bearer seat, then NASA is bound to lose, or Jubilee is bound to win. Let's hear from Honorable Kirwa. This was coming from your leader.
Well, first of all, thank you so much. Allow me first to thank Kenyans and congratulate those who did well in France. This is something that we should be encouraging all the time. It's good news. Probably the only good news that we get in the media. Secondly, as Mheshimiwa Zani has said, bonding is a process. Remember, NASA was formed less than 4 months ago.
Yes.
And it would have been foolhardy for us to rush into a decision where we forget the fact that these leaders, they have their own ambitions, and we must manage the ambitions so that they're in tandem with the realities on the ground. Number 2, there are certain sensitivities arising from various constituencies. Which constituencies shall be expected to vote for us? And therefore, any decision that we take that may not be in consonant with what the various constituencies are responding to may be counterproductive. Number 3, remember also we are going through nomination exercise, and each party has been trying to be compliant. And you realize yesterday, very few parties are compliant.
Yes.
And that is a very serious exercise that each political leader must also exercise his mind. Finally, to come to what Mheshimiwa Mudavadi said, we've not shared closely that statement, but it is a statement that him saying is the best candidate is evident of his need to be the flag bearer. But we've said, and I will repeat for clarity purposes, that as we are not talking of flag bearer, we are talking of unveiling a team that will take the agenda of Kenyans slightly beyond what is the situation in the present. So for him to say that is the best candidate, I do not see any contradiction with the fact that we need to win this particular election.
Right, him saying that actually Raila can't beat Uhuru. That's a different kettle of fish altogether.
No, those are details that really I would want to clarify with him, because nowhere have we discussed that particular issue, because we believe if it is Raila, and let me remind our brothers and sisters in Jubilee, don't be guaranteed any one of them is going to be a very formidable candidate, because there are a silent majority of people who may not necessarily come up to say we support so and so. But once we put our team together and we unveil it and we hit the ground, we are going to give our brothers and sisters on the other side of the equation a run for their money, and possibly will scare them out of leadership.
All right. Let's hear from Honorable Onyonka. First of all, do you agree with this particular sentiment that, yes, Raila Odinga cannot beat Uhuru Kenyatta?
Well, first of all, I think I'll start by saying that that was a very mischievous story. I think when you read the newspapers carefully and analyze on a daily basis what comes out, especially with this issue, this was a report which was written by presumably Musalia's team. I think when you are negotiating amongst, whether it was for an event or an activity or for an engagement, you will try and portray the other side in an unfavorable manner so that then you can give your best foot forward. And if that report was written, I believe it was a private document, and I don't think it's a true reflection of the scenario you have on the ground. There are a lot of people who feel that Prime Minister Raila is actually the best candidate going into these elections. There are those who feel that if you had Musalia and Kalonzo mixing it up amongst the two of them, it would be a better approach, it would be a better team, and many reasons have been given. For me, I think the best thing is that the team is now strategically engaged. I'm convinced beyond any reasonable doubt that the team is going to stay together. What is interesting, anybody who's watching should be watching the fact that the team is now talking in one voice. And the team is saying, whoever amongst us is going to be the candidate, then we are going to die together. For the simple reason that if everybody goes out there separately, then they're going to hang separately. And the other issue I think that you've raised about what is happening right now, is it strategic or is it the engagement that they're having? I can be very sincere with you that I don't think they should announce the results now. I would wish and hope that the decision on who the flag bearer is going to be should be after Jubilee has completed their nominations, and most probably after NASA has also completed its nominations, so that then you have all the teams ready going into the main election. Then you can now make an announcement so that people can be get set and ready to run.
All right, let's hear from Honorable Kabando. Kabando, good morning, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. But looking at this particular headlining story over the weekend of a Star, does it make you happy, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there you are on the screen there.
Yes.
Raila can't beat Uhuru. And Honorable Kirwa says that he's not really privy to what this particular statement is all about, but we're given to understand that ANC gave documents to NASA's coordinating committee proposing Musalia with Kalonzo running mate. And Mudavadi Party says Jubilee still ahead in presidential race.
Thank you very much, and good morning, my colleagues. And I think it's very obvious, even listening to my friends here who all belong to the NASA group. There is a lot of confusion in NASA. They don't know where they are going. We in Jubilee must be happy, and you are happy, because it is not in our responsibility to wish them to succeed. We are in competition. We are organized. We have complied. Our nomination is ready. The rules are ready. The infrastructure for party nominations on 21st of April are set. So we are ready to go. There isn't any issue in Jubilee as to who is the leader, who is the deputy, what are the machineries. In all the 47 counties in the Republic of Kenya,
Yes.
in all the 290 constituencies in the Republic of Kenya,
Yes.
Jubilee is ready to go. And for us to spend a lot of time defending what was said by NASA leader, what Musalia did, what Kalonzo did, you can even hear here. Just my friend just defected for the third time to another party, from ODM to Jubilee to Ford Kenya. But you have heard he is not even mentioning his party leader. Let me finish. Let me finish.
The president has defected 3 times since he got into
politics. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Then he came to
he felt the heat. Okay, let him finish.
Let me finish.
Yes.
We are not telling.
This is the fake news. He's talking about
fake news.
Me defecting 3 times.
Okay, let him defend himself.
Let me proceed, because we are not heckling. I was just making an assessment, because he is my good friend.
I just want to make it clear.
And we talk closely.
Yes.
And he was said to join Jubilee last Monday.
No,
okay, and I talked to him directly.
You are actually.
Excuse, let me proceed.
Yeah, you proceed. Honorable Onyonka, just give him time. We'll give you time to reply.
Yeah. Apart from being leaders, we are also religious people and very responsible. What I would say is that the problem in NASA is their own problem. You hear here they are saying Musalia was either misquoted by the media. We are blaming media every day for things that are caused by our own inability to organize ourselves and to prepare ourselves. Then we are blaming Jubilee for problems within our backyard, including the violence that was in Migori. You know, we say it is Jubilee instigated. Then we'll among ourselves blame propagandists and so on and so forth. Leadership is about taking responsibility and showing the way. Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto and their battalion, their troops, we are very clear where the ball is. Our eyes are on the ball. Whether they give us a quartet, the 4 of them, to be on the ballot as presidential candidates, or they give one. What is evident and what is inspiring to the Jubilee people, and what is actually causing a lot of disappointment and disarray in the NASA pocket in this country, is that this team is not organized. And you can hear clearly. And so long as they are not organized, and we have only 3 months to the main elections on August 8th, and we are incumbent in executive, we have majority in the Senate, we have majority in the National Assembly, we have prepared our party nominations, we continue to receive other affiliate parties that want to support us. We have not had them receiving even a single affiliate small party to join them. I'm telling you, Dibal, Jubilee menu for leadership, transformational, for a reformist agenda is ready yesterday, today, tomorrow, and we are raring to go. They are losers. We will defeat them.
All right. So you say that you actually hold it. They are losers.
Oh my God.
Okay. Let's hear from Honorable Kiro. First of all, you say that you're not really privy to this particular document. You presented the document to the coordinating committee. You are the deputy leader of Amani National Congress. How comes you're not really privy to this particular document?
I'm not feigning ignorance, because there are 12 combinations, permutations, as it were, and a number of simulations that we've been doing. Whatever has been, might have been presented to the media could be one of the combinations that was putting our case before the coordinating committee. And being a member of that committee, it is not really my responsibility to announce things that have not been formalized. And let me make it clear to anybody that that committee can only make proposals and for the principals to make a decision based on the information available to them. But to go to what Mheshimiwa Wakabando has just said, this imagined confusion by Jubilee that we are confused, nothing can be further from the truth. In fact, Jubilee is scared stiff because the information that we know, and they were given in November last year, is that they control only 40% of the voter in terms of strength nationally. The rest of it is somewhere. And that's why they have been very keen to talk of split, Kalonzo running away, so and so not being totally with NASA. Those are stories that they prefer for purposes of satisfying their own ego. Number 3, I remember yesterday, the information, it says Jubilee is already compliant. Yesterday, they were informed that the parties that were compliant were ANC and a few other parties. Jubilee is one of the parties that is not yet compliant.
Yes.
So these are realities. When it comes to violence, violence is not an exclusion, is not exclusive to NASA. The other day we saw something in Kirinyaga, we saw something in Muranga. These are Jubilee zones. What we need to do as Kenyans is to condemn any form of violence, whether it is in Jubilee zone or whether it is in NASA zone. Because it is important fundamentally to realize the psyche of Kenyans. There is so much hate in our society, something that we need to address. And when we are going through a process like this, let us not celebrate any violence, whether it is in Jubilee or NASA. Let us rise above some of these things. We need the country after August. This is something that we need to focus on. And I think even the media assist us by not highlighting some of these issues of violence in a way that you create it as a fashion and make it look like if there is no violence in any political process, then there is no politics.
All right, we shall hear from you, Kabano. Kabano. Let's say from Honorable Dr. Zani. First of all, the Jubilee have been also fronting that Raila should be the flag bearer, right? But it seems this actually is a setup with the Jubilee. They think the Jubilee, if Raila really runs for presidency, then they're bound to win. And this is why Musalia says Raila can't beat Uhuru. Do you agree with the sentiment, first of all?
If I was in Jubilee and if I wasn't worried, I would really be focusing on my party and struggling to make that party get better. It looks like from the intrigues that Jubilee is very interested in what is happening in NASA, and there's a reason for it. And I think my understanding of it is that 4 years down the line, when you're finished 4 years, and for every indicator that you said you are going to achieve a specific output and you haven't been able to do that, then you have a reason to worry. Now, we're talking about a new generation of Kenyans, and really, we're talking about a country that has been overtaken by countries like Singapore, and by now would be at a level of development where we got the leaders to catapult this country. We're looking at Tanzania next door. We're looking at the case of Gambia. We're looking at Kenyans finally being able to make a decision. We have a very vibrant constitution, but we're still not feeling and seeing a sense of actualizing that constitution. Now, these are the issues that Kenyans are talking about. Apart from others like historical injustices, equality that needs to be there, socio-economic development that needs to be there. It should have been very easy for Jubilee, because at this time they should have been showing the scorecard and saying this is what we've done and this is what we've done, not putting pressure about NASA will make its decision, with or without the intrigues of Jubilee. Because I don't think even that whatever they're suggesting is advice that we're listening to. We have our own strategy about how we're going to get our leader as NASA, and that's what we're processing to do. And I think when we look at it in terms of the issues that have come, you know, which party has been compliant, which party has not been compliant, and what has happened within the preparation, all parties are trying their best to really get compliant. But we should not thump chest and say we are better, we're doing better, because as Mheshimiwa Kira has said, we've had these problems, and we're not condoning these problems. We're not saying that violence should be encouraged. We're saying it should be discouraged off the set, from the first set, from the word go. But then it's very, very important to ensure that we don't have a sense of, you know, inciting and infringing and putting in a lot of sparks to make things worse. An election is just that. There's so many countries that hold elections. We have elections, countries that hold elections. You won't even know there's an election. We have the France president today who is stepping down after 5 years. That's the way we need to go. Because the France president is saying, you know what, I haven't been able to keep up to the expectation as I had put. And, you know, it's time for me to let somebody else take. We need to be able to look at the realities. Now, we are going into an election. 4 years down the line, it's up to Kenyans to decide who do they want. For us as NASA, apart from saying that we have the 4 candidates, each of whom can be the flag bearer, yes, but we're talking about them as a team, we are clearly saying that, and I think Mheshimiwa Kalonzo has put it very well, give us the time, give us the space, we'll come up with this decision when we do. And we are sure we're going to carry the day. Because Kenyans are resonating with everything that we're putting on the table, and the change that needs to be made is so critical for this country, more than ever before.
Okay, let me hear from Honorable Onyonko first. We'll come to you. Let's see. First of all, he says that you actually been toing and froing, you know, between Jubilee and ODM, and he was holding court with you just last Monday that you wanted to join Jubilee. Is that the case?
He's actually, that is what now in modern social news we call it fake news. That statement is deliberately thrown in there. It has no basis. I can give you an example when...
But he's here.
Hold on.
He's looking very pious.
He's not even an official of Jubilee. He's just an MP like me. Let me tell you. Kabando, the truth is I worked with Jubilee because there are certain things which they were doing in my constituency. When I asked my people whether I should join Jubilee, they told me don't. The truth is I never went to Kasarani to go and basically decamp or defect. I never did, but that's his story. Number two, it is true that Jubilee was making overtures to me, including him. He really talked with me and promised me heaven. You know how you promise everybody Jesus is coming soon. We'll give you access to the right-hand side seat of the Lord. And the reality and that is true. The reality and the truth is my voters are my employers. If I intended to cross over to Jubilee, then I would have to have been ready to lose my seat. The point is, I decided to make a decision on which my voters are very comfortable about. They're the ones actually who told me to cross over to Fort Kenya. Number two, I wanted to say this. I want Honorable Kabando, who's my brother, my friend for a very long time, because we've been in Parliament for 10 years together. Every single... 9 years. Every single politician in Kenya who is a major player has actually crossed over from one party to another, not less than 3. You can count all of them. You can start with President Uhuru Kenyatta, KANU. After that, he went to TNA. Now he's in Jubilee. Uhuru himself has already, and the deputy president, they have formed other political parties called Sijui Economic Empowerment, something. That is the normal Kenyan political power play. If you come to Kalonzo Musyoka, ODM Kenya, Wiper, you come to Prime Minister Raila, NAC, I mean, you can go through everybody else. I don't think that where somebody has crossed from to, because essentially, my brother Debal, you know Kenyan politics has no ideology. It is basically, these are vehicles for survival. I believe that this is the first time with NASA coming on board that we are actually going to start demanding that we take positions which people believe in and which our voters expect us to take. And the other issue that I wanted to mention is that the truth is when you look at what Jubilee and what NASA is going through, we're actually going through nearly the same teething problems. You have, for the first time, the amount of competition that is in Jubilee, you see the consternation, the anger, the complaint. I mean, if you look at today's paper today, Joyce Laboso and his running mate, Dr. Kones, are telling Jubilee, if you don't run your nominations freely and fairly, then you are in trouble. And that's the reality, because if the nominations are going to be unfair, if I use that term, then CCM is going to benefit in South Rift. So what I wanted to mention to my brother here is very simple, that Jubilee is actually going through the same problems that NASA is going through, but I would wish that his team, the Jubilee team, would be concentrating, first of all, to make sure the elections are going to be free and fair, as we are also struggling to make sure that ours are also going to be free and fair. But at the same time, I think Jubilee should stop commenting about what NASA is doing, because I don't think that Jubilee is going to dictate the decisions and position that NASA is going to take.
All right, let's hear from Honorable Kabando. It seems you're the high priest. You promised him to he'll be sitting on the right-hand side of the Father.
Okay. Huh? First of all, they are very from NASA alone. And please,
we are eagerly awaiting also for someone from Jubilee. Moses Kuria is not really shown up.
But meanwhile, I'm here alone. Should be accorded my 50% of time. Now, Dr. Zani has made a very universally acceptable statements about what should be and where we are heading, where we should have been with the Korea, South Korea, with Malaysia and Singapore. Those are ideals that I am sure very many of us share, irrespective of our political affiliations. Now, statements and realities may be different or they may agree. Now, reality. The media should not be blamed for highlighting violence within political activities or strife within political parties. That is what makes news. Good and bad events that make or shape the destiny of populations is what invite media attention, and you have a responsibility to inform Kenyans What if you do not report the mayhem in Migori? You're not being business. And in any case, it needs to be said. And it also needs to be condemned. We like your editorials. Last evening, I did not watch NTV. But I received nearly 100 text messages, WhatsApp, SMS, you know, inboxes in our social media accounts, in email, because of a story you ran last evening about schools in some part of this country, places where governors are receiving billions of shillings every year, where people are receiving hundreds of millions in constituency development funds from the national government, and yet the infrastructure, basic infrastructure for children is in shame. You know, that is a responsible media house highlighting issues on utilities, on livelihoods, and we should not condemn them.
Yes.
Therefore, I strongly disagree with the Secretary General of ODM that we should not focus there. It's our responsibility also as your competitors and spectating what is happening within your domain to tell the country that is wrong. And we in Jubilee, when things happened in Kirinyaga, Adimuranga, the headquarters took, the Jubilee party headquarters took action within 24 hours. The following day, county party officials were actually sacked. They were terminated because we want to hold our people responsible for the smallest actions within my constituency. I'm the incumbent MP. People in Mokoroini can tell you where I'm talking, including my last meeting with nearly 1,000 people in my constituency office in Mokoroini, that I shouldn't insult my rivals. I should not cause violence. I'm taking this responsibility in the villages where I come from. And God is my witness. We're in competition. Therefore, but if something happens from my end, and I've told my supporters, if you go and insult or you throw a stone, I'll be among the first people to come to Mokoroini police station to record a statement, because you should not do evil. You should not engage in violence in my name. And likewise, I expect the same from my many competitors, because we are not enemies. So, responsibility of the media to highlight, to reveal, or to unearth even conspiracies is what can prevent Kenya from going back to 2007 December to February 08. So that I take very strongly. Second point, do we have ideologies? Let's not say that everybody doesn't have ideology because you don't have one. All right? We in Jubilee have our position. We have our manifesto that we launched in 2013. We said what we want to do in transport. We said what we want to do in education. We said we want to increase the money for secondary schools, tuition support, primary schools. We talked about electricity. All right? All right? We may not have achieved 100%, but every day, the president and the deputy president, wherever they are addressing people, and you can listen carefully, before even going to the pure politics of competition, we enumerate what you have achieved and what you have done. And this is what you should do, because sometimes we call ourselves opposition. What opposition are we? When the minority leader in the Senate is riding in a GK vehicle, he's part of a government. It's what's called loyal opposition. When the minority leader in National Assembly, their whips are facilitated better than a member of parliament, Kabando, who is close and who is part of the Jubilee executive leadership. In parliament, my seniors are people who are even from the opposition parties, because they are whips, they are temporary speakers, they are minority leaders, they are chairs of the committees in PIC, in PEC. So the Kenyans must be told that we cannot blame shift and we cannot run away from the responsibility by claiming that we are not in government. How can we say we are not in government that the 24 counties in this country have called governors? Jubilee has 23.
Thank you.
Those are, okay, let me, the final point.
Yes. You
see, when we start blaming voters, and I think the case of Richard Momoima Onyonka should be known, and people, I said, we have a responsibility. And our responsibility is to be ethical, to be mature, to be honest, and never to use the name of God in vain. All right? Because competition on earth for political seat or power should not be escapist from the responsibility to obligate ourselves or to attach ourselves to be subservient to the Almighty King of Kings. Ebenezer, Alpha and Omega is God. So I don't want to go very low to address, because first, you know, we are friends and we are colleagues for the last 9 years in Parliament. But I would like to say that the fact that even now, there are 3 people here from NASA making points, and I'm here from Jubilee making points on Jubilee with very good briefs from my party officials, from the executive director, from the secretary general, and so on and so forth, is that we are clear and we are concrete and we are focused on what we want to do. But I would like to explain just one thing.
Right. We need to take a short break.
Okay.
Why, hold on to that.
Just,
to take a short break.
Just one thing I finished.
Very briefly.
One thing is that we welcome whoever is disappointed in CORD to come and join us in other parties, because we are not personal enemies. But we also welcome people to also show a degree of respect to each other. When he says that I have promised him heaven, yes, I have been talking to Momoima Onyonika on behalf of Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto to try to persuade many NASA people to come to Jubilee, and they should do likewise, because in competition, we want them to decamp and come to our side. But I have never promised him heaven. What I promised him...
I meant
well,
light
okay, no light touch here. It's good for the viewers to know that it's true. I have talked to him. I will continue talking to him. And I can tell you, last Monday, I was supposed to board some vehicle to his constituency to receive him as our member, him having deceived me and the Secretary General of my party, and he's spoken to all the party officials.
Now,
these are the games that we must stop.
I get a true picture why he wasn't here
These
last
are the
Monday.
games. Yeah.
And we are eagerly awaiting for him in the studio. Let's take a short break.
He's a joker.
We take a short break.
He's a political joker.
Allow me.
The truth is...
No, just a moment. Allow me to take a short break. We'll come back to that much later.
With a light touch.
On the other side of the break. Right, you're watching This Is The Point. Of course, we take a short break right now. The weather is up next. We'll continue the conversation on the other side of it. You know, I'm holding court this morning with Dr. Agnes Zani. She is the Secretary General of ODM. Also, we have with us Honorable Kipruto Arap Kirwa, who is the Deputy Leader of the Amani National Congress. We have with us as well Richard Onyonka, Member of Parliament, Kitutu Chache, and also we have with us Kabando Wakabando, who is a Member of Parliament from Kuruine. Before we took a short break, I think we were, Onyonka, will come to you, Dr. Zani. Yeah, I hope you've not lost your track of thought. Honorable Onyonka.
No, I just said, I think the comment I was making is that I was going to mention to my brother, Honorable Kabando, that yes, it is true. He raised the issue that the opposition does have about 24 county governments. But I also wanted to inform him that when you are actually juxtaposing that thought, yes, you should not forget that this national government controls 65% of the national resources, when actually, for me, it's about 70. Okay, let me take a 70 because I'm in the budget committee, and the national government keeps 70, and the county governments keep 30% of this revenue. So the national government has more resources, and the national government actually should be saying how much has been done, why they have done as much as they say they do, or why they have failed, in order to try and persuade the voters in Kenya to vote for the national government, which is now Jubilee Party, which is the government in office. But for me, the point I wanted to insist on is that the general feeling from the NASA coalition is that I think Kenyans need to agree that now there are two horses. One horse is Jubilee, the other horse is going to be NASA. And for many of us, we believe that there is a need for engagement which is intelligible, reasonable, fair, and let's have an election that is going to be believable and acceptable by Kenyans as a free and fair election.
All right. Let's hear from Honorable Kiro. We'll come to you. Yeah, he's been fairly silent on this as well. We're getting up towards nomination this week. How is it for ANC as well?
Well, ANC, we have structured our nominations in a way that we have a cluster of counties that shall have their nomination exercise on particular dates. Of course, we've had so many candidates, especially at the level of MCS. In some wards, you have around 5 or 6, and therefore the logistical nightmare is something that we've been trying to do. But I really want to thank the team at the headquarters. We want to do it in a way that's efficient and also that is devoid of any violence. Now, the other issue that we just read, that if we don't carry out the nomination exercise well, then we have no moral authority to say the elections in August should be free and fair.
Yes.
Well, I think two wrongs. I'm not suggesting that we should not carry a fair exercise in nomination, but two wrongs don't make a right. What we expect of the Electoral Commission is nothing but fairness to all the players at all levels, presidential all the way to MCA. But also this issue of direct nomination that people, I'm not in ODM, but people have vilified the party for no apparent reason all over the world. And, and the conservatives, the time they realized that they needed to play democracy in the right way is if a member of parliament has a certain threshold of support, instead of the party spending resources going to the same area, they give direct nomination, then they spend their resources in areas where they believe are battlegrounds. This is something that happens all over the world, and it is not anything unique to ODM. What is happening in Kenya, Dibal, is that we have not matured in terms of political configuration, because the parties that you see being formed every other day is a product of three things. One, leaders are intolerant in a situation that you want to be in. Number two, there is still tribal suspicion because we failed to build our nation at independence. We just built a country and we forgot nation building. So we do not have a nation. We have a collection of tribes staying in the same configuration called Kenya, but people don't trust each other. And that is the foundation of these problems. That is where the rain started beating us.
All right. Okay. People don't trust each other. And we'll see also why Honorable Nyoka didn't trust the ODM, especially with the primaries. And that's why he defected also to Ford Kenya. Right. But let's hear from Honorable Zani, first of all, before we even head there, you have something to say.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me start with what Honorable Kabando spoke about this whole idea of ideals and, you know, that we can have these ideals, but in reality we don't have those realities. It's not true. And we cannot sell such a narrative to Kenyans when we have countries that have improved because they've put in the right leaders. Because finally it comes to the issue of governance. And that's why we're going back to change the system and say we want proper governance. We want systems that can account for what they said they will do. And at the end of it, when they haven't, they should even give us the percentage of how far they have gone across this grand manifesto that Honorable Kabando is talking about. A manifesto is only celebrated after it has been achieved. When those goals have been achieved, then it makes sense. Now, it's even worse when they haven't been achieved across a context of such suffering. We're talking about, for example, corruption being really at its highest. We're talking about a 3.3 trillion debt that this country needs to pay back. We're talking about Kenyans who are being born with a debt even as they come into being in this country. So these are serious issues, and they're, I think, issues that Kenyans have resonated with, and that's why when they're making this decision, they're very ready to make this decision. In fact, what they're waiting for is for us to say who our flag bearer is, because these are the same issues we're talking about. Devolution, talking about 45% into devolution. Every country wants to develop, and we're losing our leadership within the region. We've been very far within the region, but Kenya, I'm afraid, within the East African region, Rwanda is coming up and Tanzania is coming up. What reason do we have to have such a situation? That is one. Number two, I want to address the issue of reportage. Yes, you know, when you look at some of the headlines, sometimes I think, like the one we're looking at, you know, talks to salvage. Already the use of salvage suggests something else. And usually headlines are headlines. In the media world, you have sometimes to make those headlines that way for specific reasons. But there's a particular headline that has been doing the rounds, especially on the direct nominations that ODM give. And Honorable Kirwa has alluded to it, but I want to be very clear and very categorical about what happened, and hope it can be heard, because I'm beginning to think, I think it's propaganda now. Clearly propaganda, that even with any explanation, if we had given direct nominations, why are we going into nominations from 13th to 25th? So we have a situation where we had staggered elections within the party. And we said instead of having everything together, there are people who are unopposed in various constituencies. If they went into primaries, for example, if they went into polling, with whom would they be polling with? They'd be alone. So we said instead of waiting, instead of holding on to this, let them be given tickets. Those were not direct tickets in the sense that they did not have other opponents. These were tickets given to unopposed, who even if we went into the poll, would still end up with a ticket, so that they could be freed to move on to do other things that are critical and important for them. And after that, we're moving into now the elections and the primaries into areas where we have more than one aspirant, so that now the person who gets now becomes the candidate. And that's been made very, very clear. And I think there is nothing technically wrong with that. This is the process that we underwent on the 3rd of April at Bomas of Kenya, and we've made it very, very clear that the people who are given anywhere where there was more than one aspirant, there was no certificate given. The people who were given were those who were unopposed, so that they could be able to run and be able to run for that ticket, be able to win that particular ticket, because that's very, very important. So I think these sort of notions that are sometimes put in a way that can be misleading can become very critical. I think also what has happened is that certain regions have not changed as per the expectation. We think about Kisii, for example, and what Mheshimiwa Onyonka was saying, that his people have told him that we are in NASA. Same, the Coast has said, we are in NASA. Western has said, we are in NASA. And we're saying we are in NASA, and talking about also embracing all Kenyans. We're not talking about the issue here. Sometimes it's been floated. It's a tribalist network. How can it be? When we talk about tribalism, we should be looking at the reports that have been given, for example, from commissions, for example, NCIC, on the flawed employment situation that we have in this country. That is what would be a reflection of ethnicity, where you're finding only representation from very few ethnic groups who have jobs compared to others who don't. But if you're talking about NASA, you're talking about an outfit that is embracing all Kenyans, that is really looking to see that these Kenyans can actually be built up from wherever they are, and address the issues that are very, very key and are very, very important. So that has to be put into context.
Allow me to respond as follows.
Yes.
And of course, sufficiently enough, because there are three Adam. Number one is that Honorable Kirwa, a man I respect immensely, has made a very dangerous statement that Kenyans don't trust each other. I want to tell you, like with your children, unlike with your friends. You see, when I was at the university, my best friend was not from Nyeri or Central, and remains even the man I decided to live with. And I'm sure even Honorable Kirwa has those stories. He has helped a lot of people across the country. That I know very sure. Onyonka is one of my best friends in Parliament, despite other challenges. You know, the point is, it's true, it's true. My firstborn kid, who is in college, majority of our friends, and I don't define them by where they come from, but it happens that they come from across this country. Majority of them are not from my county Nyeri or from Mount Kenya region, because they go to school together. Where we live in urban areas, we are mixed races and communities. So we as political leaders should desist from saying that Kenyans don't trust each other. There are times in this country, I remember at independence, and I say this at home when I'm talking to Mukoroni people, and they're watching me and they know that I say it in meetings, that when other people, even neighbors of Jomo Kenyatta, wanted, even one of the person who gave the false evidence against Jomo Kenyatta was his neighbor in Gatundu. The person who showed courage in the legislative council then was Jaramogi Odinga. And he said, it is not independence then we get Kenyatta. It is we get Jomo Kenyatta, the second god of Kenya then, so that we can then proceed to independence. Jaramogi stood where many people from even Mount Kenya region will not stand, with courage. We have seen those things happening many times, even when at the University of Nairobi. I walked around the street looking for a lawyer. The person who came out to defend my team in Isonu, Kabando and 8 others for 2 years free of charge is the late Senator Otieno Kajwang. And I've said it in Parliament floor, talked to his brothers, both TJ and Tom, and this is something that we celebrate. You see, so let's, as leaders, not amplify or sound that which is false. It is we leaders sometimes who falter. But Kenyans are united in their need for improvement of their lives. And if tomorrow, Raila Odinga tells his backyard, let's go and work with this person, they will do so. If you come, Uhuru says, let's go the other. You know, people in Rift Valley were fighting. Uhuru and Ruto decided, let's work together. There are no fights. There are no mistrust. They are working together. So we, despite and irrespective and notwithstanding our competition, we have a responsibility to just say, Kenyans have no problems with each other. They live in Isli, in Karen, in Muthaiga, in Mathare, together. And it is the responsibility of we as leaders to sound that very well. Number two, about manifestos. Yes. Dr. Zani. You know, President Uhuru gives a State of the Nation address every year. And just unless you have a very, short memory, just about 2 weeks ago, he spoke to Kenya. And he gave an account of what he has done in the last 4 years. Whether you disagree with that or not, the point is he gave a statement of what he has done in the last 4 years. We know we have not achieved 100%. We are inherently human like any other person. And we are not, holy. We are just, seeking to do that which is within achievement. And there are challenges, just like in the counties and national government. But Jubilee government has a manifesto that we are implementing. Electrification on roads, on water, we are moving the journey. And the 4 years is not the 10 years that we anticipate. The second point is when you talk about NASA controlling coast is NASA, Kisii is NASA, Western, we in Jubilee are not talking about that. Yes, we know that there are areas in this country where we dominate more than other areas. But as you have seen our activities, we have gone to coast. The president has been there with his deputy, and even we have been there. We have been to Kisii. We have been to Western. We have been to Northeastern, even last weekend. When were you in Nyeri? When were you in Muranga? You have not been there at all. If there is an outfit that is completely confused about the nationalistic agenda, it is NASA. Because I can tell you, for a fact, the man that you are trying to put on the ticket, and who is also my friend, and I say this everywhere. You even go to my Facebook wall, I say that. Raila Odinga is a friend of mine. But he has never stepped in the constitution of Ukraine. Even when he was prime minister, I requested him thrice. He did not come. Because you look at where you are going to dominate ethnic, you call them mono-ethnic fiefdoms. So you don't go to Muranga, you don't go to Nyeri, you don't go to Kiambu, you try to zone coast, you try to zone Western, you try to zone Nyanza. I'm telling you, we in Jubilee, one more minute, we in Jubilee,
we have to take callers
have our strongholds, okay? We are raiding what you call your strongholds because you are politically infertile. You are a cacophony of stagnation. You are a sound of confusion. We are raiding you. And let us not go. I'm reading here. Look here. Look at this. Can you look at this? This is Musadia says, I'm the best bet for NASA. That was yesterday.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, let's stop the bullshitting and cheating. The NASA ticket is for Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka. The others are Flower Girls and Kalonzo and Raila. We are waiting you with Huruto. Solid, resilient, energetic. We are beating you by 2.5 to 3 million. You are losers in advance.
Thank you. We have to take callers who are hanging on the line.
Losers, completely.
We have callers hanging on the line. We begin with Paul hanging on the line. Good morning, Paul.
So how are you, Dibal?
Very well, thank you. You have a question or contribution, please? Kindly, very brief.
I wanted just to contribute to the today morning show.
Yes.
I heard Sani comparing Kenya to Tanzania.
Yes.
Saying that Tanzania is coming up very strongly. And I was asking her, how would you rate a country which exchange rate between Kenyan shilling and Tanzanian shilling when Magufuli was taking power was 19.8? Now it's going up to 21.5. Well, how would you compare a country where businessmen are being scared out of their business because of just allegations? How would you create a country that leads into dictatorship and not condoning democracy and opposition to fair hearing and fair competition? How would you compare a country to that with Kenya, where we have free democracy? We are practicing our democracy in the right way. And I think if Tanzania has to be compared with Kenya, that is a wrong comparison.
Thank you.
We are nowhere near where Tanzania is.
All right, thank you. We are nowhere near to where Tanzania is. Oh, yeah, you will. Yes. We have another caller hanging on the line. We'll come to you, Mheshimiwa. Madenge hanging on the line. Good morning, Madenge.
Good morning, habari.
Mzuri sana.
Mimi nilikuwa nataka kuzungumza. Unajua hii NASA naona imewachanganya sana watu wa Jubilee. Unajua sasa kila mtu wa Jubilee anazungumza na hasira. Hapo Kabanda anazungumza na hasira. Ukiangalia Uhuru mwenyewe anazungumza na hasira. Kwanza mimi nilikuwa nataka kuadvise watu wa Jubilee. Tafuteni mambo ya kutuambia sasa wa Kenya jamani. Mwachana na mambo ya NASA kila siku NASA. Naenda tena upande wa nomination. Tukienda kwa upande wa nomination ambao wanasema ODM walipeana. ODM ODM imepeana nomination kwa watu ambao hawana mpinzani. Ni kama kwanza hata Jubilee washapeana direct nomination kwa sababu Ruto na Uhuru tayari wana tiketi.
Yeah.
Kwa hiyo tuangalie pande zote mbili tusije tukaconfuse watu, sawa?
Thank you. Thank you, Mathange from Mombasa. We have Hillary as well hanging on the line. Good morning, Hillary.
Good morning, Dibala. Habari ya asubuhi.
Salama sana. Swali.
Niko na contribution.
Please.
Hello.
Yeah, tunakusikia, endelea.
Yeah, kuna kitu nataka kwa panel kama mnaweza discuss. Manake hii mambo ya aspirants wengine kutumia polisi vibaya, Dibala. Jana nilikuwa Kitengela, hata sasa niko Kitengela. Na kuna huyu aspirant ambaye anang'ang'ania ugavana, former CS wa Interior Lenku. So kumekuwa na football tournament hapo kwa stadium ya Kitengela for some weeks sasa, for 1 week sasa, 1 week. So hiyo nani ilikuwa inafaa ikue ifanywe kwa CDF grounds Kitengela. But wakaomba kwamba CDF grounds ni kidogo ikuje kwa ground. So hao vijana wakasema ni sawa, tutawapatia time, tutasimamisha tournament yetu ya football, mfanye rally yenu, then baadaye tutafanya nini? Tutaendelea na football yetu. But every time walikuwa wanasema, sasa hao watu wa rally wanasema na Jubilee, wale vijana wanasema NASA. Jubilee wanasikiza lakini wakisema Jubilee vijana wanasema NASA. So what happened baadaye wakakimbia polisi wachukue tear gas wapigao vijana, and the scene was very ugly, kwa mzuri. So if you can just discuss that on your panel, why some aspirants watumia polisi vibaya, I think it was very constant to me. The vijana, the youths were very peaceful, but whenever wanasema watu wa campaign wanasema NASA Jubilee, vijana walikuwa jibu NASA. Jubilee, NASA.
Asante.
It happened for vitu kama 10-15 minutes, then tukona tu tear gas, and the scene was very ugly.
Thank you.
Asante.
All right, thank you. All right, we want also to see what you're saying on social media. And of course, we will be going through that with Have You Say, and allow me to introduce to you as well Usha Jose Candadil, who will take us through that to see what you're saying. Have You Say, Usha?
Oh yes, indeed, Dibal. We have been getting a lot of feedback. And remember, if you still haven't gotten your comments in, there is still time. We have 30 more minutes to this show. AMLiveNTV is where you can get us. AMLiveNTV is our Facebook name. AMLiveNTV is our Twitter handle. So do keep your conversations coming in, your comments coming in. Let's keep this conversation going. So first off, we have Engineer Colum Jacob, who says they know the flag bearer, Nirao, but they are looking for the running mate, Western Region versus Ukambani. I don't know, I think Mheshimiwa Zani might be in a better position to clarify on the same. We have at Jacob Abere, who says, I am of the same opinion. Let us delay it. It is now giving Jubilee Mandarins hot air. Shughulikia yenu. Again, I think Honorable Zani would be very happy with this comment. We have Kipleting Manuela, who says, whether you support Jubilee or NASA, we share the same problems across, no matter the political party. And we finally, we have Amos Kitui, who says, I take this opportunity to welcome Honorable Richard Onyonka to Ford, Kenya. I don't know, Mheshimiwa, would you like the right of reply to that? Okay. And finally, again, at Kitui Amos, who says, both governors from both opposition and government has failed to deliver. So I think these are the tweets that I got to sample, but as I said, you should still send in your feedback on AMLiveNTV. Use the hashtag AMLiveNTV. Before I leave, there is a video of the week. This is what happened previously on this day, last week on Monday. And it's really funny that the Waheshimiwas were talking about people jumping from one political party to another and not being able to make a decision, because last week Farah Maalim had a lot to say on this. Take a look.
This nonsense about watermelon is just a construct of the media itself, even before. Let me be honest with you. Let me just be honest with you. Why did you call him a watermelon?
Because it seems he's,
according to pundits, why did you call him a watermelon?
He's very indecisive.
Why didn't you call Uhuru a watermelon?
He vacillates on one opinion to the other.
The reason why you called him a watermelon was that when we were fighting for the Constitution. The Constitution itself.
Yes.
And Kalonzo had not taken such a very powerful, decisive position on that. He was not the only one. Uhuru never took. Uhuru was a watermelon. They said Usiku, he supports one side, and Mchana, he supports. You never called him watermelon. You get my point. The man has a church, and he didn't know whether he was going to offend his own church by being seen to support the constitutionalities. William Ruto was firmly against it. We were for it ourselves. Why didn't you support his opinion that time?
Great. So that's all we have for today. But do keep the conversations going, as I said. Back to you, Dibal.
Many thanks, Usha, there. On Have You Say, of course, you know the hashtag is AMLiveNTV. Always hit us on Twitter. AMLiveNTV is a profile name on Facebook, and 20505 our SMS portal. And of course, we shall be doing that on a regular basis. Let's hear from our panelists on this. Many questions are also coming from our viewers as well. Dr. Zani, also Honorable Kirwa Onyonka, and Kabando Wakabani.
Thank you. Let me start by saying that we're not going to have development by the Mandarin hot airs, just saying it is there. So it's not about what you're saying is going to be done. It's not about the PR. It's not about how much you talk from the rooftop. If the middle class now cannot live the way they did 4 years ago and their livelihood has worsened, whatever you say, they know that reality. So you cannot rub that out. And neither can we go the way of the first caller, that you're comparing. You know, you can't say, oh, Tanzania is not there yet, and you're comparing with the wrong country. Tanzania is making an attempt to fight corruption. All development indices show clearly that there's a correlation between corruption and development.
But that is
so
debatable
within time,
right now.
within time,
because we saw also Honorable Kikwete, the former president, when he walked to parliament, people actually stood up in a standing ovation, applauding him and saying how great he is,
and that's
comparable
why,
to what John Magufuli
but
is.
it's always a trajectory, you know, until maybe 5 years from now, we can then look back. We can look back at Kikwete after the 5 years, but he is making a concerted effort to fight corruption. He's walking around, isn't he, and trying to identify, saying that this project should have taken off. Why hasn't it taken off? There's nothing essentially wrong with that model. We have countries like Singapore that have actually taken off. We have scholars like Rosto who have clearly indicated how the takeoff is done. It's done when people can amass. It's done when that investment is put into the pocket properly. It's done when a new entrepreneurial class come in who are really devoted to their country and want to make a difference to their country. And when people say there's a problem, you know, that we need to move in a particular direction, then it means these are views that need to be taken, you know, into consideration. When we're comparing, it's about structures and about systems, the way administration is done over time. And that can improve to a point where we can go. So I don't think that throwing away and saying, you know, we shouldn't compare. Or you cannot thump chest and keep saying we're doing well, we're doing well. We need to have the data on the table.
Let's say from Honorable Kirwa.
It's not going in that direction.
Yeah, I do not want to be an assessor of the performance of Jubilee, because the people know what Jubilee has done and what it has failed to do. And come August, the verdict shall be determined by Kenyans. But allow me to highlight 1 or 2 points. I want to agree with Mheshimiwa Kabando that indeed Kenyans want unity. But the main problem is that there is no collective unity that is supposed to build us as a nation. And I can assure him, if we went back to Mukrueni and he has changed the ticket to ODM or ANC, he can as well bid farewell to Parliament for the balance of the time, because we have not allowed Kenyans to think out of the box and to think democratically and to think of one nation called Kenya. Number 2, let me share what Hillary said. The issue of police brutality and involving themselves in campaign rallies. We know policemen are supposed to give protection to those who have the rally. They are also supposed to not to use excessive force, including tear gas for no apparent reason. They should have been able to monitor the rally and realize if Jubilee is here, and possibly that place is predominantly NASA, they should have used other measures instead of using brutal measures to fight members of the public. Finally, the issue of governors not performing is really a factor of many other things. One, devolution seems to have taken Kenyans by surprise, so that we said, okay, for 7 counties, we never gave them enough money. We never gave them the system through which that money should reach the ground. We never did the 2 things that devolution ought to do, allowing people to participate and allowing them to decide on what is appropriate on the ground. Finally, on the issue of Kilifi, Amason Kingi, our governor, is a victim of many circumstances. The issue is that Kosi province has not, since independence, gotten the due attention from the central government. And up to now, and that's why in many areas they talk of equalization fund to assist the areas which hitherto have not been developed like the others, so that they come up to speed with the rest. I know Ganze. I went several times to Ganze to deal with issues of food security. There is high level of poverty. Finally, central government is still responsible for primary schools. So when we are apportioning blame, let's not blame Amason Kingi that he has failed as governor. When there is money from CDF, there is also central government kitty that they are supposed to directly assist various schools in terms of infrastructure.
Right, thank you. And of course, before we come to you, of course, you've been welcomed to Ford Kenya,
yes,
right? One of the callers as well. I want to draw you also to an article that I think was 2 weeks ago in the Standard.
Yes.
When they were calling you the master of defections.
Yes.
First of all, do you agree with that particular title? That you're the master of defections. Look over there.
Thank you.
From, yes.
I will tell you.
Now you say he doesn't regret his decision because ODM had a list of preferred candidates. Honorable Zani will tell us that.
Yes.
And it says that in 2007 general election, Onyonka was elected to parliament for the first time on People's Democratic Party ticket, yes, a party he decamped to after losing to James Ongwae.
No, I didn't.
Now Kisii governor in the ODM primaries. Before joining PDP, he had mild joining Kalonzo Musyoka's then ODM Kenya, now Wiper, and even met with the former VP in Nairobi, right? And I'm here, you are all in court also with the Honorable Kabando Akabando.
I will.
Yes. However, report says he got a call from Raila who advised him to join PDP, which was linked to Omingo Magara, who was the ODM national treasurer at the time. Yes. The MP was then appointed Assistant Minister of Foreign Affairs, but, right? And it goes on and on and on. So Onyonka said yesterday, I think that was 2 weeks ago, he was
yes,
not comfortable with the planned ODM primaries, which starts this week. That was last week, and expressed confidence he will retain his seat on a Ford Kenya ticket. So you were frustrated in ODM?
I will answer you.
Were you frustrated in Jubilee when you went to Jubilee?
No. By the way, I had a wonderful working relationship with Jubilee. I didn't have any issues at all, for the simple reason that we had the government bringing in the National Youth Service program to my constituency. I was given machinery and equipment to do roads, which I did. I totally didn't have any problem with Jubilee. Let me explain this issue about you raising the issue that I moved master or whatever. That story, by the way, the editor of this newspaper called me to apologize to me because the story did not have any significant impact in terms of, look at all the members of parliament today, look at all the leaders of Kenya today, each one of them, whoever it is. Moses Wetangula, my party leader, started from Kanu. He left Kanu. What did he do? He crossed over to Ford Kenya. After Ford Kenya, he's now shifted his alliances to NASA. Look at the Prime Minister Raila. I can name 7 parties that he has moved to. Look at Musalia Mudavadi. So this story was actually deliberately written this way to cause disaffection to my voters and to impute ill motive on me, as if the decision I made to cross over was based on any particular agenda other than the fact that, number one, I will tell you this, my brother Debal, politics, you want power. And number two, you want to be given a responsibility to either govern or manage affairs of your people. If you realize that there is somebody who's going to curtail you from achieving that exercise, then you must be able to make that decision. And for me, it is true. I went for nominations of ODM, which were unfair, which then I crossed over. I picked up PDP as a party. I then went and I won the elections. After that, in 2013, I was an assistant minister. I had worked with the party leader very well. I didn't have any problem. What happened after that? I then asked for me to be given direct nomination, which I did. Some people felt it was unfair, all right, but I still went and won the election. Then we come to 2013. There have been issues in matters ODM, in the Kisii County ODM management, and many of us have disagreed over that. And many people felt vulnerable. And this is not an exclusive portal of ODM as a party. You have the same issues. I mean, a party in Kisii, I can give you an example. Look at what is happening with Elizabeth Ongoro. Look at what is happening in Migori. In other words, we politicians will always move if we feel uncomfortable where we are being engaged as politicians. But I can tell you this, for me, my conscience is so clear that my voters have told me, and I personally am convinced, I will stay in NASA. I will support the person who NASA brings as a presidential candidate. I'll campaign for them, and I hope to deliver in that exercise. Number two, There's an issue that has been brought in by Madenge. Paul has also discussed the issue of Tanzania. I don't think I'll compare with that, but I just wanted to mention to Paul this. I don't think Madam Zani was really talking about Tanzania versus Kenya per se. Look at a country like Rwanda. You can stand up in public and say, oh, Rwanda is a dictatorship, is a country. No, Rwanda is a country where the Kenyan intelligentsia, Kenyan executive, Kenyan professionals have been recruited, have been hired. They've done the best roads. They have brought in development. They have reduced, they've managed the economic affairs of Rwanda to an extent that actually people now want to invest in Rwanda, not Kenya. But I'm not saying that Kenya is a banana republic. I'm just saying that we can do it better. We can change our country. And what we are saying is we want everybody in the opposition and in government to know the reason why we are engaged in this game is not because we hate anybody, or is it because we want to make our Kenyan politics toxic. We feel Kenya can achieve better.
Thank you.
We feel whatever business we do, we can do it better.
All right, Honorable Kabano, before we even ask you a question or you respond, yes, I have this particular headline in the Star, which is today's Star, where Uhuru has accepted small parties' support. Kenyatta says Kenyans can elect whoever they want as long as they vote for him. But the question is, have they realized, or your party has realized, first of all, that the creation of Jubilee Party was undoing of Jubilee administration itself? No. The question is, yes, have they realized way too late that now they're going to small parties to form or to accept small parties as sanctuaries to people who will be frustrated because of these upcoming nominations?
You see, I want to answer that after saying the following.
Yes.
Number one, Zani compared Kenya even to Gambia, a country that is barely the size or even the weight of one county in Kenya, all right? Not even Nairobi, that carries 55 and above of
but
the
in what
GDP.
Context?
Okay?
You need to mention the context here.
The context
actually...
here can never be political, economic, or social context between Gambia and Kenya. I want to tell you this. As a matter of fact, unless you are talking about fiction, but if you are talking about the reality and the fact, and Richard has been a minister for foreign affairs. He knows the continent very well. You cannot compare Gambia. Let us intellectually remain. Let me go on. You had your time. All right? I'm just responding to your time, and you don't need to respond to what I've responded also. Number two, you know, I agree with Madenge at the coast. We are spending too much time talking about NASA. NASA is a molehill. It's not it's a small molehill. It's a house of noise, sulking, you know, every day, many noises and many voices, okay? You know, so the media should also defocus us from there a little bit, although it is still topical. Here there is a lot of noise, attracts a lot of attention. Two, let's accept, Jubilee is a mountable juggernaut. It's clearly focused what we are doing. Last week, we had almost a near conclusion of tallying. I was telling my friends in Jubilee that let's not even concentrate on what NASA is asking for tallying center. You know, it's not a big issue. They are just trying to scream in order to create attention. Because at my constituency, during nominations and main elections, I always have a tallying. I know when I'm winning and losing ahead of time. I know when to concede, as I've done twice, and I know when to start pre-announcement celebrations because I'm tracking the polling stations announcement even before it came to the new IBC, when we had the Electoral Commission of Kenya. And I know Kipruto Kirwa, a veteran politician, knows that, and he has done it before for many times. Now, the point of strongholds is universal, both as a concept and as a fact. Mheshimiwa Kirwa, Nyeri is a stronghold of Jubilee. In America, you can go to a Carolina that is a stronghold of the Republicans. You can go to New York that is a stronghold of the Democrats. It happens. There are even safe seats, even in the United Kingdom. That is not to say that other parties are not permitted to exist. Even with all those counties in America, small counties, and the big states like California, the biggest, you still have pockets where the county representatives or the state legislators and the senators in the states can come from a different party. It depends on how a political party is calculating its penetration. And remember, let's also be realistic. We are 50 years. We know we are supposed to be very far ahead, politically and even economically. But you are 50 years, you cannot compare with 300 years. Now, so let's not apologize very much. Let's not condemn communities for choosing where they want to stay, but let us also integrate as a nation. Now, about CDF, you know, I want to invite anybody. And I know the teachers of Mukurweini, some of them are watching. I know the children and the parents of Mukurweini are watching. I was the first constituency in the whole country to put electricity in every primary school, public primary school in Mukurweini. By 2011, at least class 5 up to class 8 of primary schools. I use CDF money. Go to records of Rural Education Authority. Get the match money that we committed as CDF for matching fund, shilling for shilling. You give 5 million, the REA gives you 5 million in order to do it. If you compare the schools of Mukurweini, even with our neighbors, we are ahead. So let us not apologize and try to be escapist that in Kilifi,
thank you,
the schools are not, because people in Kilifi, they have members of parliament. They receive a lot of money.
We were strapped for time, and I really want you to respond on what is on the front page of the Star.
I want to come to that. But they have also cited about Rwanda and all that. I also want to tell you this. You know, you want to ignore the fact that the German leader was here, the Turkish leader was here, the Pope was here, Obama was here. They made a statement. The Pope made some statements. He also made some, you know, corrections and give us a challenge. People from America have said Kenya has achieved. People from Rwanda, from Uganda, from Tanzania, Uhuru Kenyatta today, as much as you want to dismiss it, is a strong man in the East African community and a leader who is exciting other people, except the sulking, desperate, potential losers in NASA.
All right, you've not answered my question yet, but I open up. I want to give you the closing remarks.
The small parties.
The small parties will come to you. No, we'll give you time to.
He's scattered around that issue because he doesn't know how to answer it. The reality is the president has just swallowed humble pie. Yes. He has done exactly what he didn't want to do. Hold on, Honorable. Hold on, please. Please, wait. No, I'll answer.
No. Let him finish.
The point is, Mheshimiwa Kabando, the president, whatever made him make that decision, for us, let me talk for me as a deputy leader of the Ford Kenya party. For us, we really don't mind which parties the president brings. And he's shocked that I'm the deputy party leader of Ford Kenya.
Within the 2 days.
No, I am. You can see, we are moving fast. And that is why Jubilee has to be careful. You see. So the reality I wanted to tell him is that he needs to understand that the president has faced the reality that if nominations in Jubilee are going to take place and there's going to be fallout, they will not be handle the juggernaut of one, having members who would have lost the nominations pull back, and therefore there will be voter apathy. Number two, the president was picking some of these political parties because Jubilee was not acceptable in certain areas, and that is why they are to create these other parties which are now in the field. And the third point I wanted to make, and this you know, Mheshimiwa Kabando, you know the president, I respect him highly, and you know I wouldn't besmirch his character.
I know that.
But I will tell you that as far as I'm concerned, what NASA is doing is actually a very complex and very interesting political development in this country. And I will assure my brother here that the elections which are coming, NASA is actually going to win, even with a small margin, but NASA will get 51+1.
Thank you. Let's hear from Honorable Kirwa. No. You will come to you to give the closing briefly. Let's hear from Honorable Kirwa as we're winding up, and Dr. Zani as well.
Well, it's very interesting that we are spending time talking about issues which are really not so important as far as I'm concerned. Just to advise my young brother, Kabando, the issue of strongholds for Jubilee or any other party is not defined by any agenda. It's defined by the association with the candidate of the day. Tomorrow, if Uhuru decided to go back to Kano, all of you are going to run away from Jubilee like there is a disaster. Number two, remember, and this is advice to all political parties, carry your nominations well, because today, 68 members of parliament had run on a ticket other than the ticket that took them to parliament.
Thank you.
So it is important that we take these things seriously. Number two, I do appreciate regional integration. And we can borrow the best from each country. And that is the essence of regional integration. We cannot come here and we rubbish Tanzania, we rubbish Rwanda, we rubbish Gambia. What is the essence of us visiting our neighbors? It is to see if they have a better garden than yours, you go back and improve yours. That is the essence of regional integration.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Zani, briefly as we're winding up.
I think this election is not going to be won on the basis of how much we speak about what we've done and trying to disparage others and try to show we're ahead. It's going to be based on actual facts on the ground. And since this conversation started, I haven't had Honorable Kabando give us at least 10 indicators actually of what they have achieved clearly. Even when you think simply of laptops, that didn't happen, and many others along that road. Number two, when we're talking about comparison with other countries, the parameters are important. Gambia conducted a very successful election. Nothing happened. I mean, their system was very well integrated. So that gives us something to look at. There's no country that doesn't have something to give. Number three, each argument has to be put within context. When I talked about the specific counties where when I mentioned the 3 cases, Coast, Western, and Kisii, was about the figures, and that these figures have not changed. And I think this is what is giving Jubilee a headache, not what he interpreted it to be, that these are stronghold. And finally, Honorable Kabando forgot to mention Meru, where the Right Honorable Raila was. Conveniently, he forgot to say Meru.
All right, thank you. We wind up at that, Mheshimiwa. Yes, as we have stopped for time. I gave you time to actually talk about the party politics, but we have to wind up now.
Yes,
I'll give you this opportunity next week.
I was
thank you for your valued company.
Member, a National State Committee member for the merger of the Jubilee parties, and I was a chairman of the Political Strategy Committee of the same. And I can tell you, whatever is happening in Jubilee, and whatever you see merging in terms of the small parties is part of our grand strategy. We are answering the question why. We are not coming here to complain. We in Jubilee. We are not coming here to say that we don't receive public money. We are saying what we have done with the CDF and the county government. They should take responsibility. We should not come here breathe hot and cold, as Richard is trying to do. I respect the president. I want to go to his party then tomorrow.
Thank you. All right. Let me finish. We're winding up.
Let me finish.
No. We are winding up.
The point.
That is toxic politics.
Okay.
I can respect Uhuru and disagree with him.
Okay, so all right. The point is...
Yeah, this show is not about me, Honorable Kabando. It's not about me.
Okay, thank you.
This show is about, let's discuss the issues.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Leaders must take
Thank you very much.
Leaders must take responsibility. Just like you are demanding responsibility from the national government and from the national leaders, we cannot escape from our individual responsibility, however small we are.
Okay.
And I can tell you...
We are winding up, sir.
We want to say we are ahead.
We'll fade you out.
Zani.